Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to join us for a reading. Today, I thought we're gonna read you of a. What's my camera? There. Anyways, we're gonna read a book that's called Treasures of Stories, originally created by Barry Potter. Now, my parents read this when I was a little kid, but right now I still have worried about this. So, let's get started. Here we go. Okay. Chapter 1: The Tales of Peter Rabbit. Once there were four little bunnies named Florrie, Muzzy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother under a big fir tree. One Sunday morning, one Sunday morning,
SQ2ID6 said, who should I drink that or no? But I wanted to try out test 018.
anyways, one Sunday morning, Mother Bear told me her little bunnies, "You may go out and play, but be sure to stay out of Mr. McGregor's garden. He does not like little rabbits. He will come chasing after you." So Fluffy, Muzzy, and Cottontail each took a basket with a hope fund beside some sweet wild blackberries. And Peter thought he was looking for Ralph Fine in his new blue, with the jacket with a shiny brass button. "Run along now," says the mother rabbit. "I'm going to bake and I'm going to bake." And off she went to buy a loaf of brown bread and 5 cinnamon buns. Flossie, Muzzy, and Cottontail were good little bunnies. They were always listening to their mother, and they went down to the lane to look for blackberries. But when Peter was a naughty rabbit, he ran down to the lawn and through the fields and squeezed under the gate to Mr. McGregor's garden. He could hardly wait till he had never seen some crunchy radish and carrots. First, Peter ate some leaves and grass, green beans, and he ate some radishes. The carrots were delicious and too strong. The carrots were delicious, but the onions were too strong for his taste. When Peter Tubbet's tummy begins to ache, he went out to look for some purses. But at the end of the garden row, Peter saw Mr. McGregor. The father was on his hands and knees to plant young crabs. When Mr. McGregor saw Peter Rabbit, he jumped, grabbed his rake, and chased after the scary little bunny. "Stop, thief!" shouted Mr. McGregor. Peter was frightened. He ran through the garden, and the gardener was looking for a gate. Where was it? Peter knew he was lost. Poor Peter lost one shoe among the cabbage, and the other in the potato patch. Without his shoe, he could run much faster. He might get away, but the shiny brass button on his new blue jacket tangled in the gooseberry net. The only way Peter could get free was to wiggle it out at his new blue jacket and leave it behind. Peter shed big tears, and he was sure what he would need on his way home. Peter had no time to feel sorry for himself. Mr. McGregor was not far behind. Hop, jump, Peter rushed into the tool shed and jumped inside a water can. It would have been a good place to hide had not been had full of water. Mr. McGregor was sure Peter was hiding in the shed. Quiet and carefully, he began to turn out the flowers and pots, looking for under each of the naughty little rabbit. Kerchoo! Peter sneezed, and Miss McGregor was after him again. Oh, get there. Sorry, there. Anyways, Peter leaped out of the window and upset the flower powers. Mr. McGregor tried to follow him, but the window was too small, and Miss McGregor was trying to chase the little rabbit. So he went back to his work in the garden, and Peter sat down to rest. He was shaking with fear, and he was out of breath. He did not know which way to go. He was also very deaf from the sitting inside that water can. After a while, he began to wander around, going hippity-hop, not very fast, and he saw a door in the walls, but it was locked. Just then, a little mouse scraped past him. Peter asked him to ask her the way to the gate, but she had a large pea in her mouth and could not answer. She only shook her head at him, and Peter began to cry. Peter ran across a garden to the fish pond. There, a white cat sat very still, staring at the goldfish swimming in the pond. Peter had been warned about cats. He decided not to ask her the way to the gate. Peter became more confused. He went back toward the tool shed. Suddenly, close to him, he heard the noise of the hose. Screech, scratch, scratch, screech. Peter under some near some bushes. Nothing happened, so he climbed in the wheelbarrow, but better be looking around. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor holding onions. He headed back to Peter. There was, just across the garden beneath Mr. McGregor's was the gate. Peter went to the gate as fast as he could, sitting under it to safety. Mr. McGregor could not catch him now. Peter did not stop until he reached his home beneath the bird-fed tree. Mr. McGregor was busy cooking flurry, mosey, and cocktails, or having supper of bread, milk, and blackberries. Peter was too tired to eat. He flopped down onto the soft sands and went to sleep. Peter's mother took him into bed and gave him a dose of chamomile tea. 1 tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime. Mother Rabbit watched Peter sleep. She wondered he had lost his shoes and his new boot jacket with shy brass bruise. And that's it for our Tales of the Treasure stories. I hope you enjoyed this book, and if you have any questions, please recruit me. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.